Hi guys, Mondo Man here. Thanks for tuning in. This shouldn't take too long because I've actually already done half of this, but I've had some issues with my 2006 Dodge Ram. Had similar issues with an '04 that I had, but I've had this truck since new. The back doors, neither one of the locks work as far as you have to do it manually, up and down. Of course, it used to work when it was newer. This has probably been for several years. The passenger side rear door window doesn't work either at the door or by the front controls. So I had a little time today, thought I would address this. All right, so this is your wiring harness or sleeve between the door and the body of the truck. Okay, and this is going to control, obviously the window and door locks. There's not much else here. There's a speaker. So first I started with, turns out I didn't actually have to do this, but I started with, trying to trace down what's going on. I had a similar issue in my '04. And what happens is the door being opened and closed, Dodge, Chrysler, use some cheap wiring or something. Their 16 gauge wires in here will break just on their own, just from going back and forth. And you'd think that would happen on the front more because obviously you go in the front doors way more than you go in the back doors. But I had the same issue on my '04. So anyway, you can use a screwdriver, don't scratch your truck. There's a small tab there. You just barely have to push it and that'll pop out. And then go around to the front door and you had to do it from the other side, which I'll go do that real quick. And you can, I just popped in the back one, but it doesn't matter. I'll go around and fix that. Okay. So you barely have to push it. Okay. And out it comes. Okay, and this is your connector for your little wiring harness. There is a little tab right on the top, and you just press down and pull the two apart. Okay, and that was pretty easy. They just pulled right apart, push down on this little tab on the inside one. Now you want to probably take the wires, I just bent them around the corner just a little bit because I really don't want that to drop back inside the body of the truck, and you probably don't either. So you can peel this rubber back. I've already done this on this side. And then I pulled this back, and there's a reason I'm not showing you right now. It goes off and on fairly easy. I'm working one-handed here, of course. I also pulled this out of the door, and I don't recommend doing that, only because it didn't really gain me anything. And the other half of this on the inside of the door is like 3/8 of an inch wide and thick. I mean, it's huge. It was a huge pain to get it out, and then I just had to work to get it back in and didn't need to in the first place. So here's what I found anyway. I'm going to go over to my passenger side door and show you because it was exactly the same on this side. All right, so here's over on the passenger side door. I did not cut these wires. I got 7 wires were completely separated from each other. And because of where the break was, I just had to slit this open with a razor knife. When I'm done, I'll go back and I will just use black electrical tape, go round and round, seal it back up. It'll look well enough. I don't have to do anything fancy with it. And so this is what I'm going to work on next, but I'll show you what I did over on the driver's side door, because I had 7 wires exactly the same, all snapped in two. They weren't even touching each other. All right, so we're back over here at the driver's side door. Again, same issue. So they're split in two. So one at a time, here's what I did. I stripped back the jacket about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch on both sides of each wire. Twisted the wires and soldered it one at a time. And let me step back a little bit. First, I got some heat shrink tubing and slipped it on to each one of these, and I slid it up, you know, back up here so it's away from the wires. Okay, so I went ahead and did it to all of them. I just put them, instead of doing one at a time, I just took it, slid it on all of them, because it sucks when you forget to on one wire and you've already soldered it together. All right, so one wire at a time, I just stripped it back, twisted the two wires together, slid the heat shrink tubing back up, and I'll be honest with you, I prefer to use a heat gun in most cases with any kind of heat shrink tubing, because I feel like it's better control. But with this situation, with 7 wires broken, 7 pieces, and all this tubing up here, even though I pushed the wires out of the way, you know, a heat gun has a blast of, you know, several inches wide, so that really wasn't working. So I ended up using, and I never tried this before with heat shrink, but I just used you know, a grill lighter, and it actually did a really good job without burning the cables here or burning the heat shrink. And I could have used crimp connectors, like butt splice connectors. The problem is this still needs to flex back and forth, you know, when the door opens and shuts repeatedly. So this seemed to work best. So I had to do this one at a time because of the heat shrink tubing, where I could push the other wires out of the way, you know, pull the one wire up where I needed it, use the flame on it to shrink it down, you know, and then go to the next one, twist, solder, slide up the heat shrink, shrink it down, and until I had all 7 of these. Now, putting this back in is going to be, you know, a piece of cake. It's just clip it back together. This pops right up against the body, just like it should of the truck. Before I do that, I'm gonna take some black electrical tape and go ahead and wrap this, and that'll help keep some moisture out. It's not really gonna matter much on this, you know, but also to give it a little strength, a little reinforcement. And then we'll check it out. And there we go, she's taped up. Is it beautiful? No. Is it functional? Yes. And I'll just tell you, while I was soldering, I did find, this is still a hot solder, but it's a nice little hole right there just for resting your soldering iron down there. I highly recommend using flux with your solder, whether you have a rosin core. I used a specialty solder. You know, of course, electrical solder is ideal. I just didn't have it here with me. But this stuff is supposed to be for circuit boards too, so that shouldn't be an issue. So here we'll go check this out. So nice. All right, it's probably been 5 years since this window has been opened. I know that's sad. Should have been taken care of a lot sooner than that. And then we'll check out the door locks here in a minute too. But thanks for tuning in. All right, good luck with your projects.